Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihin Nabiyyil Kareem. All praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gave us this morning. All praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who awoke us gratefully, thankfully for the Fajr prayer. All praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who would forgive us whether we prayed wholeheartedly or if we were a little groggy. I praise and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this morning for the inclination to be here. It's 10 o'clock. Brother Wisam's world doesn't start till 12:30. So I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that inclination. I was under the impression that no one would come, so I praise and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for people who knew that there was something better than staying up till, someone's up till 5:30 playing video games. Oh wait, they're not here. So we praise and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for being amongst those people who were able to come and have the inclination. I say unto you as I genuinely pray, I pray the angels of the paradise say unto you as I will say now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So I've given 4 talks or 3 talks and I asked for some feedback and I realized I haven't said salam to you once. In the first Surah Zumar talk, I didn't say salam. Sorry guys. I'm going to work on that. I thought I was going to get some like grammatical critique or something. They're like, you didn't say salam. I was like, okay, alhamdulillah. Again, I only pick the topics or work on the topics that are very close to me. And if these topics make sense to you, we can actually go home with something. So I would like to try something today where all the time the speakers are asking for more time. I want to finish my entire talk in less time. Because I want you to know that the message of Islam doesn't need to be explained, give me 5 more minutes. And yesterday I seemed a little advantageous. I was like, I need more time. Today my dua, my intention bi-idhnillah is to end and for you to have a precise idea because Islam is precise. So let's take the grandeur picture of all the talks we have. I was supposed to give the opening talk on Friday night, which was going to be about being generally active for our deen, myself and Sheikh Kamran Riaz and Sheikh Yasser Burjas. But the talks that you heard were Surah Zumar, where we talked about, what did we talk about in Surah Zumar? Guys, there's like 20 people in here. Intention? What about intention though? Can someone tell me what about it? Yalla, I need to get through this quick. It wavers, right? It's not going to be perfect. Heck, I'm here because Sheikh Mufti Kamani's here. I just want to see him. Maybe get a free thobe out of it, you know? But our intentions waver, but we keep them clean. What was the second talk about with Sheikh Yasser Burjas and Sheikh Altaf Hussain yesterday? What was it? Loving your brother. Tell me a little bit, anything, or any one fact that made sense from it. Surah Hujurat, excellent. What ayahs did we do? 8, 9. That believers are not brother or brethren, they're actually blood brothers. What is our blood though? Taqwa. It's okay, it's good. No, I know where you went with the question, it's okay. The brother said that the blood that makes me ikhwa is the blood of taqwa. It's what binds us, good. So today we want to take a big, huge, and I love the way the brother said it. What does it even mean to have a masjid? What is the function of the masjid? So I'm going to start out here and we're going to go straight into it bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. I am going to be upfront with you. A lot of the notes that I pulled up, you're not going to be used to it. You're not going to be used to seeing the masjid in this way because we view the masjid as, number one, God forbid you guys come. I mean, guys, it's horrible. That's the way we view it, right now? And then the way we view the masjid is, if you have to talk about something, leave. Right? Don't stay in the masjid and talk. And if you have a problem, you don't go to the masjid, right? If you have an issue, like I'm going to give you some examples now. If you got into a fight with your wife or you got into an argument with your mom, where would you go? I would tell you the first place I would not go is the masjid. Why? Then the imam would say, what's wrong? I got into a fight with my wife. Oh, astaghfirullah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and it's... But Ali radiallahu ta'ala an, who was he married to? Now this is going to be uncomfortable to hear because we put them on a pedestal. Husband and wife, Ali radiallahu anh and Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, as human beings, got into a marital fight, like a bad one. And he stormed out of the house. Where'd he go? Went to the masjid. Not that someone could judge him. He went there and he had to cool off. And his counselor, and the only counselor, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, actually came over and talked to him. And he broke the ice in a very manly way, because he was laying down in the masjid after this fight. And I don't want to get into all the stories now, but think about this. You get into a big heated, the voices were raised, people outside the house could hear them, not the husband yelling at the wife, but they were both going back and forth, which is normal, it happens. He storms in, you leave this, walks out of the house. He didn't throw any curveballs at her. Just keep this in mind. He's like, well, you're the daughter of Rasulullah, you can't do this. No, she's a human being too. Got into an argument, walked out, went into the masjid, and just had to cool down. No, he didn't sit there and make 2 rak'ah and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide her heart. He got frustrated, took his cloak, and laid down. When you're angry, it's good to lay down. And he went to sleep. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam walked into the masjid and kind of tapped on him. Remember, there's a human relationship here. And he kind of tapped on him. He goes, oh, because he's in the masjid. Think about this, guys. If you're in the masjid for a long period of time, in the middle of the day, you're covered with dust, right? The wind blows. And so he was like, oh, father of dust, what are you doing? And he pulled off you can't be like, well, your daughter did this. And he was like, he explained. And the counseling session took place there in the masjid. So what I want you to do is I want you to remember the different facets and the different roles that the masjid plays, but we have not given it that right. Let's try to reconstruct it together. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So today we're starting in Surah Nur, which is Surah number 24. Surah number 24 is home to one of the most magnanimous ayahs in the Quran. I won't use words I can't spell. One of the most amazing ayahs in the Quran. One of the. And this ayah is constantly read about the poetic nature of Quran. And it's Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. But I have never heard in a shaykh, in a lecture where someone actually quotes the ayah after this. So I start with bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. This is ayah number 36 of surah number 24. I need to do this, sorry. First talk, Surah Zumar. What ayahs did we do? 1, 2, and 3. Excellent. So 1, 2, and 3. Ala lillahi ad-dinul khalis. What ayahs did we do last night? 8 through 10. 8 through 10. I was hoping you'd get to 11. Surah what? What number is that? 49, right? 49? Look at you guys. Long live the Hufaz. Surah 49. Well done. So today we start in 24, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts everything into a perspective for us. Not a spiritual house alone. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, with the name of Allah. The most beneficent, the most merciful, the one who gave me the system of a centralized house of community. The most merciful, the one who attached so much blessing to this house that no matter what I do, I want to go back to it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, في بيوت, in these homes, and the word here is homes. أذن Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained. Can everyone say رفع? The last letter on the letter ayn, the رفع is an ayn. The correct pronunciation for ayn is when you lift the sound. One more time, everyone say rafa'a. It's not rafa'a. You don't push an ayn. I'm not joking. This is actually something I teach in my class. Sometimes when we're taught to say the letter ayn, we push it and it sounds but the actual ayn is lifted. Rafa'a. Allah. Jazakallah khair. Think about it. Is coming out a little choked. Lift it. One more time, guys. Forget the masjid is going to teach you tajweed, so let me go ahead and do that. Rafa'a. Sisters, all. And over here. Try not to awe it. It's ah. But we'll talk about it. Y'all need to take something to eat. What are you doing here? But we'll talk. We'll talk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained the raising of these homes. Now everyone who looks at this ayah believes that we should build masjids on little hills. I want you to think about Medina. Not the spiritual aspect, but the physical aspect of. So Masjid Nabawi was built. How was the city built around? Was it at the back of the city? Was it on the other side of the city? Where was the masjid? It was in the middle. And then what happened around it? Homes were built and the real estate closest to the masjid was the most expensive. And it wasn't built on one side. A lot of times, and I grew up going to Catholic school, churches are built high. And the doors are enormous and there are hundreds of steps to get to it. Why? It makes you feel smaller. It's a thing of architecture. So I consulted 2 or 3 architects and they said, but it's amazing, the Muslim architecture is one place in the middle of the city, slightly raised, and everything around it. Now, even if the land isn't raised, think about this again, friends. Everything circles around the pinnacle of the entire city. It is already raised when we treat it like that. So this, أَن تُرْفَعَ وَيُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you to raise it, construct your cities around it, because you're about to find out what happens. يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ فِيهَا بِالْغُدُوِّ وَالْآصَالِ. And in this house of community center / worship / health center / drug rehabilitation center, in this place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sabbaha yusabbihu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be praised, glorified, but it's to keep afloat, right? To keep afloat. I want you to keep this word in mind. It's used in many surah in the 28th juz. To keep afloat, to glorify, keep Allah at His maqam, which is greater than we can understand. It's going to happen in this house. So let's be real. Can you keep something afloat for a little while? Can you keep something and then say, okay, I'm not going to keep it, it's going to sink now? No, then it would go away. Can you only praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day? Would that be keeping Him at His face? No, you would need to do that. But then you'd say, brother, I need more time. I have to work, I have to live. So those things are going to happen through the masjid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in those homes you will glorify Him, keep Him at that raised status, bil-ghuduwi wal-asal. If you can write these 2 words for me, in the morning and in the evening. Ghudu, ghain, ghudu, ghuduwi wal-asal. Wal-asal. Can you just everyone say it? I want to see if you can do this together. Can you say ghuduwi? There's no V in the Arabic language. So try it one more time. Think this thing. Ghuduwi. Got a mean backhand. Wal-asal. Good. You didn't touch your lips. These 2 words I need you to have. Because in order to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning and in the evening, throughout the day and the time in between, yes, you're going to be praying 5 times in the masjid, but what is going to happen in the masjid? I'm going to share 4 or 5 examples with you, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Number 1, did we know that the masjid served as a center and a focal center for prayer? Did you all know that in the original masjid was for prayer? Help me out here, friends. Yes, everyone knew that. Keep telling me as you go though. Did you all know that the masjid served as a focal center for education? Yeah, I think I knew that. Now what I did not know, I didn't know, Mufti Kamani just explained to me, the Islamic State, the Oval Office, if you will, the Oval Office where decisions of what caravan was going where, what treaties were going to be made, it was decided in the masjid. Okay, I knew that. I'm going to tell you something that I never knew though, because I grew up in a conservative, masjid is only to be occupied by certain types of people. A caravan from Abyssinia came. The entire caravan was Christian. Where were they asked to sleep? In the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How many of us thought that non-Muslims weren't allowed to come to the masjid? I did. I grew up in Westbury. I thought for the longest time, I used to tell the masjid, I was like, what is this? Haram. And they're like, you're 10. What's wrong with you? I was hardcore. Alhamdulillah. I think I still am. Not at 10 o'clock. But let's move forward here. So the Abyssinians were allowed to do this, but I ask you a second question. During the time when one of the armies was going out, of course they went out from the masjid. One of the soldiers had a constant habit of drinking alcohol. Where was he placed to sober out? In the masjid. It seems weird, right? You're like, why would a drunk guy be in the masjid? And I saw this in full-fledged, that the masjid, because of its open spaces and its sanctuary, actually allowed for a stable place for someone to sober. And these are examples from Medina. Let me give you something a little bit better. I did my rotations out in Las Vegas. And at the Las Vegas Masjid, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep the energy of that masjid going strong, and Imam Fatin, who is studying now in Dallas, there used to be a drug rehabilitation program. So I moved there and I said, I'm going to help them. The drug rehabilitation program was focused in the masjid. Non-Muslim and Muslim drug addicts, and I'm not talking about pot, I'm talking about the hard drugs, was done in the masjid. There were IV drips, and the people, the non-Muslims who did it, they actually came and said, the open spaces help us to settle. The tables and chairs that we find in the hospitals, we find them very constricted. But when you have an open space, we feel better about this. But wait, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a means of health, a preventative medicine that we know today as hematomacrosis. Again, still think masjid. So I studied hematomacrosis for about 2 years. I was like, this is unbelievable. There's a hadith in the books of Abu Dawood. This hadith narrates that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever does hijama, whoever does cupping or hematomacrosis on the 17th, 19th, and 21st of the Islamic month, there's shifa for any disease. And I will refer to my mufti. I believe there's some weakness in the narration, but I feel comfortable to share this with you. So I said, okay, this is preventative medicine. I'm not going to give you a talk on hijama. I think I wrote some paper on Muslim Matters. You can find it. My question to you, people had dandruff. Women weren't ovulating correctly. People had cysts, abscess. People had glaucoma. These are actual things during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where were these procedures done? In the clinic, if you will, that was sectioned off in the masjid. I never knew that. And I mirror the same thing today. There is a masjid on the west coast on Friday after Jum'ah. All health care from the two parts of the masjid is free only for non-Muslims. So non-Muslims, I finished giving khutbah there and I saw a line of non-Muslims outside the masjid and I was like, what did we do? It was a nice khutbah. One by one they came inside, free medical clinic. First you have a consultation and whatnot. And I was like, why can't Muslims come? They said, we do free health clinic for Muslims throughout the week. After Jummah, when Muslims are in big strength, we invite them to come, take consultation. We don't put the word free up. It says open clinic. We usually write some basic prescriptions, talk to them. It's usually basic things. And at the end, they say, can we pay? They say, your payment is 5 minutes. Sure, what's up? You have a disease, I have a disease. You have some happiness, I have some happiness. I believe all of those things come from a creator, the one who knows what we don't know, and I call that creator Allah. Next time you see a person who looks like me, please know that we love you. And that's it. And they go home. The masjid, and that's what I call dawah in action. Can you imagine this? At least I'd say about 75 non-Muslims every Friday come, get clinic, go back and forth. Now, let's push the envelope a little bit more, because in our opinion, only religious people come. Only religious people come to the masjid. A man committed zina, right? So he crossed the line. He spent a little bit too much time on Facebook, right? He was poking around the wrong places. So he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he admitted to this sin. Now the counseling and the questioning after this sin took place in the masjid, but I'm directing this mainly to the brothers. If that guy didn't feel comfortable enough to come to the masjid to say that he had, and I want you to feel uncomfortable, that he had illegitimate relationship with someone, if he didn't feel comfortable, how would he be able to come? Let me flip the coin. In my lifetime, we have literally, I begged a friend, I'm like, look, if I beat you in basketball, you're going to come and pray in the masjid today. So our friend used to play basketball outside. The structure of the masjid today and then. I said, if you come with us, if I beat you in basketball, then you're going to come and pray. He goes, okay, whatever. I did my thing, took him inside. First time in the masjid in a long time. And how did he come to the masjid? With his basketball shorts on. And what happened? Skinned alive. Skinned alive. What, you're naked, our salah doesn't count. And I was like, yes, uncle, but did you notice he's also wearing earrings and he has a tattoo? And you're worried about the length of his shorts? I'm like, I literally, and he looked at me, he goes, and this is why. And he walked out of the masjid. Now, let's flip the coin again. Places for education. I was under the impression that non-Muslims were not allowed to attend the khutbah. In how many cases was there masjid doors open and there was actually a seating arrangement, if you will, a back section for them to sit and say, so what is this religion about? What is this about? But I want to push the envelope even further now. We have a place of education, we have a place of health, a health center, we have a place of physical activity. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting in the masjid after Fajr and he engaged in very casual, friendly wrestling with Umar radiallahu ta'ala an. And I know every YM kid is now going to go to the uncle in the masjid and say, it's sunnah to wrestle in the masjid. And I'm waiting for some sister to come. Well, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. So two sisters are like WWE in the back. No. At a certain time, in the absence of a large crowd, the masjid was used for gathering things. Now, you might be saying, okay, these are all still religious things. Finally, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned from jihad, if I may say, returned from qital, not the inner struggle, but returned from actual war, where is the financial booty split up? In the masjid. I know it's almost generic. So friends, before we talk about you connecting your heart, I'm going to bring yesterday's point. The blood of taqwa that runs between our veins, the blood of brotherhood and sisterhood that brings us together, is going to come through one sentence. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Na'budu is not in the singular form. Na'budu is all of us will pray together. So if you turn this whole talk on its head, and I'm done. But brother, that's great. Those are all things that were done. How can we bring these things back? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points out, رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ, that there will be people, men and women, there will be people who frequent the masjid, but on their way to the masjid, their SAT preparation will not distract them. Their pursuit of a job will not distract them. Their giving and selling of items, and I want to include not just selling physical items, but the giving and selling of everything that you have, your time, your energy, it doesn't distract them. An dhikrillah, from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So leave with a few things today. The masjid needs to be changed. But am I going to be able to change the masjid by myself? Unless Yasser and Fatima and sister Atika don't attend the masjid? No. So on one side, we want to do youth programs. And Mufti Kamani is doing his best to call people, educate people. Wisam is doing programs, youth programs. But when we don't show up, and you don't come with a thick skin, because you could walk down the hallway in high school or college, and someone could call you a mummy, and someone could call you Bin Laden's cousin. And you'd be like, what you say? But you come to the masjid and an uncle sneezes in your direction, and it's all done, you have to run away. It's like, call the ambulance. Wah. No, really. I'm making an appeal to you guys now. Grow some thicker skin. Come to the masjid, and when the uncle says, you're dressed horribly, said, Bi-iznillah, one day I'll be dressed like you, uncle. And smile. And when the auntie says, your skirt's too tight, say, inshallah, I will do my best. Listen to what they have to say, because they've been sitting in the masjid and the functions of the masjid have not worked for them. So the masjid's making them frustrated, and not being in the masjid is making you frustrated. I believe that it will not come through force and through anger. I believe, very straightforward, that the change of our ummah in North America will come from the 2,000 masajid that are there today. I just shared an idea with the Sheikh, and I'm going to share it with you. When the masjid becomes the Wi-Fi center, as the masjid has become, yes, the masjid has become the place for the Madden tournament. Once a month, the Dallas Masjid has a Madden tournament. So they sit in the lounge and they play PS3. And the sisters have organized a Pilates class that gets together and goes off to a different place. Where do they meet? Masjid. They go to a sister's house because the masjid doesn't have the correct facilities. But the masjid became, as it was, the community center. And I will say it here, it's being recorded. By blowing things up and becoming a keyboard jihadist, we will not change the hearts of the people. Well, maybe they'll hate us more. But by building these institutes, by building places where the people of our nation will turn and say, yeah, I'm not Muslim, but there's a masjid over here, there's a masjid in Utah, only after Jummah. And I love how people are now using Jummah. Only after Jummah, non-Muslims are given a bag, it's a ration bag, one loaf of bread, a box of cereal, it's like perishable goods, and it's given out. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great week. No assalamu alaikum, nothing. I hope everything works out for you. Have a wonderful week. But where are they going every week for that? The masjid. Friends, we could just, and this talk was not really good. It was not all rah, 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 screaming and bismillah and nothing, right? Because it didn't need to be. We have 2,000 buildings already set in place. Those who came from the past lived in Muslim communities. So the masjid didn't have to be a health clinic, because the whole Libya, Pakistan, India, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, there was a hospital across the street. We don't live there. We live here. Here is going to be our opportunity to make the masjid that exact thing. I'll leave on one example, because I really want to drive home this concept of public service. A masjid in College Park, Maryland, was visited by a pediatrician, and she said, I want to move here and open up a for-profit business. I want to run my medical practice from here. So the masjid gave her a small closet, like a janitor's, not that small, but like a, no really, like I've been there, very small. She sat there, took a paper and pencil and made charts. And Dr. Sharieff started sitting there and she made charts and charts and charts. Then she told the masjid, I need a little bit more space. So they opened up. Now Dar es Salaam medical practice takes up 2 floors of a professional building. But when people, they went from 10 patients at the masjid to 7,000 patients within 4 years. And now most of the patients, most of them are non-Muslim. And I asked, because I just stroll in, I look like this guy just walking around like he owns the place. Why do you guys come here? They're like, well, when Dr. Sharieff says something to us, when she gives us advice, it works with our kids. Did Dr. Sharieff say anything about Islam? But she said everything about Islam. Did she say anything about the masjid? But they already know Dar es Salaam is that masjid building across down the way, on the other side of 193. Yeah, it's all connected. So know this much. We will bring back the servitude of that building. And we will have preventative medicine. The medicine that we work with today is allopathic medicine. When you get sick, you take a Tylenol. In Islam, preventatively, every 3 months we do a certain type of hijama. Every 6 months we do a dry cupping. And then after that we vary our diet. And did you notice that our religion is all about physical activity? Our religion makes you get up and down. You do at minimum 17 squats a day. Our religion wants us to be healthy and move, not just to be religiously based. Again, I encourage us to redefine the concept of religiosity. I ask us to redefine, sisters, in your local masajid. Alabama Masjid does this. They have a sisters' night. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, because it's like a guys' night involves a lot of grunting, scratching of bellies, and maybe some video games. And then some more scratching of belly. It's a primal thing. So the sisters have a room in the Alabama Masjid, and it has a coffee machine in it. And they make coffee and they talk. But that's what they do. And the masjid serves their purpose. And yes, those exact sisters have said to me, Brother Wisam, before you leave, could you talk to the ammus? Could you talk to the chachas? They're always yelling at us that we're dressed like this or dressed like that. I said, that's their right. You're coming onto their turf. Win their heart. And I said it in California, I will say it here. If you need to dress to the part, you need to dress up to fit the part, dress up. Because when I go to play basketball, I don't wear a thobe. I wear my balling shorts and I wear a shirt and I play basketball. So when I go to the masjid, a place where this religion is played and lived, I dress up. And I wear the clothes that fit the masjid. And I'm not shy to have a backup thobe in my car. Don't be shy to play the part. Brothers, undoubtedly the spiritual part is going to start, but will I be able to make a national appeal to masajid all around the United States that we need to open up? I want to install projectors for the purpose, HD projectors, for the purpose of paying PS3 in the back lounge. Will I be able to rally for that if they're like, well, where are these youth that you're talking about? So they are going to say the youth are not here, and you all are going to tell me if it was there, if the projector was there, we would have come. So it's this killer cycle. If we start to fill the masajid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will rectify the mistakes that we have made thus far. And during the protests in Libya and in Egypt, the masajid were full. The masajid walls ended and the streets became collective prayer. The masjid organizes our life, health, education, social security, so that what can you do easily? Pray 5 times a day. It's clean and pure is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that is a mistake is my own. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the ability to listen to our mufti correctly and to hear the words that he has to say, because I haven't touched any part of the spiritual aspect. But do I believe we can build this masjid, this one masjid, and branch it out all over the United States? I do believe. But without the support, mental support, and the physical attendance, it won't be able to happen. وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ.